today's Decay. Celebrating births and beginnings and everything important since the dawn of time. April 7th edition. All day. And what happened today, you ask? 1883, Gino Severini was born, who was an Italian futurist. Very inspirational work. I love this. Check out his paintings. Gino Severini. Really, eye-catching. Wonderful. The future, right? Where we will spend the rest of our lives. I think actually the futurists were really focused on trying to capture emotion and showing the difference, the pace, the speed of like the 20th century rather than like the pre-industrial revolution of the 1800s and earlier. Speeding right through the future, what are we doing here, you ask, at 370 East 76th Street? Why, in 1928, one Pete Mad Daddy Myers was born, who was a, how do you even encapsulate this? I don't know. I'll try, though. A horror host, rock and roll DJ who really, like, came into his own in 1958 or so in Cleveland, doing such off-the-cuff, out of this world, out of his mind, just raging and babbling. Okay, fine, inspired Lux Interior. The Cramps existed in part because of the inspiration that Pete Myers, the Mad Daddy, was able to put into Lux Interior's brain, but there's so much more to it than that, really. He's in that really wonderful sweet spot of like rhythm and blues taking over the airwaves and connecting with children, and as far as like, getting their minds activated in a way that like he's talking just to them, but also like cutting down any like race borders at the time. This is all still like pre-civil rights movement, and the idea of like that white kids could listen to black rock and roll or rhythm and blues was like really still not acceptable. I mean, okay, he's existing in a time. I say Alan Freed really broke down those barriers, or started to, a couple of years earlier, also in Cleveland, with the Moondog radio show. But Mad Daddy was just like a lightning rod, one could say. And then, I mean, like, what else did he do? Let's see. He parachuted out of an airplane into Lake Erie with the intention of filling Lake Erie up with Jell-O. Also intended on being dressed as Zorro to do it, and distributing or like letting loose copies of a Zorro soundtrack record connected with Disney or something like that at the time. I mean, he was, really exciting. Had a Cadillac, whatever his car was, and like drove around town in his Dracula cape, and really, really quite special. And then, at the height of his fame, was tempted to basically, follow along the same success route that Alan Freed did, and came to New York City, where he lived here in this apartment building, and bombed. Whether it was just like maybe he didn't have like an agent or a producer. Nobody knew what to do with him. Nobody knew what to make of him, and so they just had him like tone down his act to the point of not being the Mad Daddy anymore, really. And he wasn't. The times had changed, so he wasn't playing the music that he loved. He was no longer able to pick his own songs. New York City just like gobbled him up. It's all really, really unfortunate, and captured in this new Mad Daddy book that I think McFarlane Press put out. That is really the only book on the subject. Also, Norton Records put out a CD collecting a lot of his between song banter that is crucial, along with the liner notes in there. But this book that like is hot off the presses is very impressing. So this was his last place of residence here in New York City. He was getting ready for work one day. Early October 4th, I think, 1968. And the story goes, whether it's accurate or not, was that he was listening to recordings of like him in his prime doing the Mad Daddy shtick, and while getting ready for work in the morning, decided he wasn't going to go to work ever again, and shot himself in the chest with a shotgun, with his wife in the other room, to call the police. And that is, unfortunately, the end of the Mad Daddy. Because, you know, if he lived a couple more years, I think you could have seen a real renaissance. The same as like Mad Mike, who, you know, thankfully Billy and Miriam and plenty more have, like, you know, championed over the years. But he just didn't make it. It's really, really quite unfortunate, because that was a brilliant man, that Pete Myers. Mad Daddy. April 7th. Do tune in. What else? 1935 today, Bobby Bear was born. The rock and roll singer, songwriter, and I think eventually country, who wrote the song Vampira that wound up in the Jackpot label. Highly sought after and catchy. 1974 today. You always have to make time today for Captain Kronos, Vampire Hunter, Hammer horror film production. 1977 today, The Damned played their first time in New York City at CBGB's. Double bill with the Dead Boys, and a double show, because there was like an early evening and then a late evening, or I don't know if one was a matinee, I forget now, but supposedly in the second show of the evening, a quantity of cakes and pies were supplied and distributed throughout the room, possibly paid for by Mick Jagger, and you know, then ensued a food fight that maybe resulted in CB's finally deciding maybe we should take out these tables and chairs. I'm not really sure if that's true or not. I'm connected by dots here, but you look at like early videos or photos of CBGB's, and everybody's like just sitting down, the same as like Max's Kansas City. And there's some point, some day, where like they decided, you know, these are all just getting wrecked. Let's move these to the side. And maybe it was today, April 7th, 1977. What a lineup, though, huh? Dead Boys and Damned, 77. Not too shabby. 2018 today, Screaming Dead played for the first time in New York City. I was very proud and honored to be able to help bring him here. And maybe, I don't know if I have indigestion or it's something's repeating on me, but Screaming Dead are coming back. TVI 2024, April 27th. So, with Memphis Morticians, Night Chill, and Changelings, it's going to be a fantastic show. But yeah, April 7th, the Mad Daddy, all day, I think, right? I love this stuff. Who would even know this is his house? I've been like looking to find out this information for a long time, and it's finally in this book. Maybe it's in the liner notes of the CD, but I don't know. CDs are difficult for me these days. Even in it, they talk about the funeral home that his memorial was in 2 days later on October 6th, a couple blocks that way, that's like still there as well. But I feel like the house, the apartment, is you know, the destination, huh? Mad Daddy, all day, from me to you, till tomorrow. Goodbye!